Sometimes the things people say to us sound so unkind and they're cruel. Cut you to the core, that's what bullies do. I've been where you're standing, I can tell you feel so alone. You're feeling kinda helpless and you don't know what to do. Believe in love, love will save the day. Love is the hero. It's not a cliche. Don't let anything stand in the way. There is so much power in love. Believe in love. Think of somebody who loves you, someone you love too. You would go to the ends of the earth, wouldn't you? For that's someone you love. Hate's just noise that clashes, trying to overtake crowds. When you believe in love, it's harmony, rising up, singing right out loud. Believe in love, love is not a cliche. Love is a hero, gonna save the day. So don't let anything like cruel words stand in your way. Believe in love, believe in love. There is a still small voice inside of us, whispering to me and to you. I swear, if you listen, you'll hear it say, love is the truth. Come on, let that love carry me and you. Love knows right what to do. Believe in love. Love is your truth. Let's believe in love. Love is not a cliche. Love is an answer. Love is gonna save the day. Don't let any worries get in the way. Just turn to love, believe in love. That's what I say. Believe in love, love is your truth. 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 You want to sing it? Believe in love, love is your truth. Come on, believe in love, love is your truth. Let me hear you believe in. There you go. Love is your truth. Believe in love. Love is your truth. Believe in love.
Please join me in prayer. And today, we are grateful to step into the second half of 2023, speaking truth to circumstances, knowing that God is all there is. God is where everything begins. And we live from the space of cause rather than effect. We know that there's a power that makes things out of itself and that there is only good. We're grateful and give thanks for all of the people who come together to make this service possible, our practitioners, our sound team, our beautiful musician, each and every soul in the sanctuary who's come together to speak truth to circumstance and rest in the knowing that God is all there is. We know that this is perfect, and everyone, every divine soul listening to the sound of my voice, whether in this room or online, you are truly blessed and unique aspects of that one power that is God. I give thanks for all who celebrate the expression of that one life, whether they do it in a cathedral, a synagogue, a mosque, a sweat lodge, a temple, in the forest, or in their living rooms, knowing that each and every one are unique expressions of the divine. I give thanks for everyone in this sanctuary, everyone within the sound of my voice, everyone everywhere in the knowledge that God is all there is. I release these words into divine law where they are already acted upon by the divine mind, the one and only mind. I let this go, I let it be. Together we affirm, and so it is. And I have a few words of inspiration today. The first set come from Amy Morin. Simply reminding yourself that you have a choice in everything you think, do, and feel can be very freeing. If you spent most of your life feeling like a victim of your circumstances, it takes hard work to recognize that you have the power to create the kind of life you want to live. From Meher Baba. When mind soars in pursuit of the things conceived in space, it pursues emptiness. But when the man dives deep within himself, he experiences the fullness of existence. And from our founder, the Honorable Dr. Ernest Holmes. The range of possibilities at the present time does not extend far beyond the range of our present concepts. As we bring ourselves to a greater vision, we induce a greater concept and thereby demonstrate in our experience. In this way, there is a continuous growth and unfoldment taking place. We do not expect to give a treatment today for prosperity and then have $1 million tomorrow. But little by little, we can unfold our consciousness through the acquisition of greater and still greater mental equivalence until at last we shall be made free.
So this month we're talking about speaking truth to circumstances. And we'll talk more about that as we get into this talk today. But today's talk title is Monsters, Inc. And I was going to go watch the movie, Monsters, Inc., to see if that had any value for me, and I just couldn't get there. So we'll talk about what came forth for this message today. We're going to look at our monsters, those parts of us that we don't want to see, those parts of us that we don't really care for, that we don't like, that we'd like to go away. We're going to talk about what all that's doing and how that's showing up in our world. Because you see, there are things in life that truly frighten us. there are things in life that we find challenging and concerning. And these may be monsters, or they may be monsters inside our heads. And so what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to figure out the difference in that and how that works for us, and then how we can make it all work out better. I have a quote from Marianne Williamson. "Until we have met the monsters in ourselves, we keep trying to slay them in the outer world, and we find we cannot. For all darkness in the world stems from darkness in the heart, and it is there we must do our work." Oh my gosh, thank you, Marianne Williamson. What a beautiful, beautiful quote. This is from her book, Everyday Grace. So we can agree that when what happens is there can be something within me that I don't want to see, I don't want to look at it. Something about a behavior, a mindset, any number of things. Well, what happens is the things we're trying to ignore, the things we're pretending don't exist, start to show up in other people around us. And then we react to the monsters. If we could just take that moment in time and go within and really focus on who we are and what all is coming within me, I can adjust that, I can change that, I can shift that, I can heal that, and then I'm not going to run into that obstacle with other individuals. I don't have to call it forth externally because I'm working on it internally. What a concept. What a concept. And when I started this talk and started looking at this title a couple of weeks ago, I thought, oh my gosh, this is just such a simple way to look at life. And then I decided to live a part of it for you, and I'm going to share that for you here in just a couple of minutes. But let's talk about this just a little bit more. We are always here with ourselves. Have you ever tried to get away from you? Yeah. Some of us go on vacation, some of us move across the world, some people buy a home in France. But when you get there, guess who's there? The same person you left with. You know, and most of us learned this at a very early age, but I think we've found ways to kind of manipulate that in our minds over the years, and we've lost sight of what that really means. And here's the thing I can tell you. No matter what you do or how you plan to alter uncomfortable or unacceptable behaviors, I can assure you of this one thing. Until we find a way to make nice, to be friends, to encompass all of our own parts, the good, the bad, and the ugly, we will never move forward and grow. We will continue to stumble. We will continue to fall. These very things about ourselves are what we seek out in others. I would like to say that's not the truth, but it really is. It really is. And what happens is, because I haven't done my own personal work, I'm judging you. I'm uncomfortable with your behavior. I don't want to be around you. I don't want to engage in this conversation with you. And the truth is, if I had dealt with it with me to begin with, what's going on with you wouldn't matter, would be meaningless, wouldn't impact me at all. Interesting mindset. Gary Vaynerchuk said this: "Don't ever let your circumstances determine your outcome." Let me say that again. Don't ever let your circumstances determine your outcome. You are bigger and better than that. You can control your destiny. Use what you've got, find what you don't, and make your dreams come true. Wow. So sometimes when we're in this process of offloading our own monsters onto others without their permission, something like this quote is really beneficial to us. This really can help us. We must slay the monsters in our hearts. We must tame them. We must heal them. And the monsters are those opinions, those ideas, that one moment in time when your mouth is in gear before you've engaged your heart. Those are the monsters. We need to befriend them, and that way we can show up in the world free from prejudice, free from the need to judge, free from that need to criticize. A lot of these monsters come from the past. They have to do with our upbringing, the other voices that are speaking for us, that have taught us things that aren't quite true or don't really align with who we really are. Have you ever judged something or someone and then stepped back for a moment and thought, whose belief is that? Because I find myself doing that a lot. I hear a voice, I'm ready to react, and I think, wait, that's not coming from me. That's coming from somebody else. And we want to take a look at that so we can really align with that. My he's not middle-aged. He just turned 17. My middle grandson, he gets to spend time around his birthday with me every year. And so he was just with me a couple of days ago for about a week. And he was doing something, and I started to make a comment, and halfway through my sentence, I just stopped. Because I realized that the correction that I was giving him, the instruction I was giving him, was an instruction I had heard an adult give a teenager years and years and years ago, and it really didn't have anything to do with how I was feeling in the moment. And I had to stop for a second and think, is what he's doing affecting me? Is it harming me? Is it harming him? Do I need to correct him? And if I am going to correct, then let's do it my way, as opposed to something that's ingrained, that just was showing up habitually. So I found this little story that I'm going to share with you. A mother was home one day, and she was walking down the hall past her teenage daughter's bedroom. And she was astonished. She had to actually stop at the doorway because she noticed that the bed was made. Everything in the room looked to be picked up, kind of pristine, very unusual, very out of character. She became quite skeptical. And as she stood there, she noticed an envelope propped up in the center of the bed. And it was addressed, Mom. Now, with the worst premonition possible, she walked into the room, she shakily opened the envelope, and she read this. Dear Mom, it is with great regret and sorrow that I'm writing you. I had to elope with my new boyfriend because I wanted to avoid a scene with you and Dad. I've been finding real passion with John, and he's so nice, even with all his piercings, tattoo, beard, and his motorcycle clothes. But it's not only the passion, Mom. I'm pregnant. And John said that we can be very happy. He already owns a trailer in the woods. He has a stack of firewood that will last us the whole winter. He wants to have many more children with me, and now that's one of my dreams too. John taught me how to grow marijuana, and that it doesn't really even hurt anyone, and will be growing it for us and trading it with his friends for other things so that we can survive and get the things we want. In the meantime, we'll pray that science will find a cure for AIDS so John can get better. He sure deserves it. Don't worry, Mom. I'm 15 years old now, and I know how to take care of myself. Someday I'm sure we'll be back to visit so you can get to know your grandchildren. Your daughter, Katie. P.S. Mom, none of the above is true. I'm over at the neighbor's house. I just wanted to remind you that there are worse things in life than my report card, which is in the desk drawer. I love you. Please call me when it's safe to come home. Now think about that for a second. How many of us were going into reaction mode as we're hearing this beautiful writing from this young girl? Thinking, oh my gosh, this poor mother. How often does that happen in our lives? When that happens in our lives, what's happening is we are responding to circumstances. We're letting the monsters unleash. And 9 times out of 10, we are in action, at least I know I am, before my brain is engaged to tell me, whoa, 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 wait a second, reel it in. Let's back it up. River Jordan gives us this quote: "Sometimes circumstances force you to face the very thing you're determined to ignore." I know that doesn't just happen for me. I know it happens for all of us. What if there is something you could do, something so simple and powerful that could positively influence others? River Jordan discovered that very thing in 2009. Both of her sons were about to go off to war in Iraq. One was going to Iraq, the other was going to Afghanistan, and she was planning a family reunion to see them off. All she could do was pray for her son's safety and hope to maintain her strength until she unexpectedly came upon a perfect New Year's resolution, one that focused on others instead of herself. She would pray for a complete stranger every single day of the year, and this carried her through. How beautiful. Do we pray for those other people? Do you pray for that woman who was struggling at the grocery store because her child was upset or screaming, or there was something going on, or people that we just see out there? And we don't have to pray for something specific to happen to them, because our philosophy teaches us we pray for the highest and best. Sending blessings out to the world. Driving in traffic, what an incredible time to pray. Don't close your eyes, but you can pray. And you can pray for the guy in the Chevy, and you can pray for the guy in the Dodge. And hold them up and hold the people up. That's why we're here, to support one another. You know, I was at a concert this past Wednesday night, a free concert in the park. Jeremy Facknitz was performing. And any of you who are familiar with his work, he has a song, something about hair. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, his story was that he went to get the hairdresser to get his hair cut a couple years back, and as she was clipping, a gray hair fell into his lap. You know, you're wearing those beautiful black robes so everything shows up, right? And he looked down and he said, and his first thought was that she was messing with him and that she had just thrown a gray hair from wherever at him, and it landed in his lap. And then when he realized that no, she was showing him, it came out of his head, and he had not seen it. How could he have not seen it? What is going on? Now he's getting older. What's happening? And he was so frustrated with that, and it was so cute in the song that he came up with, and you can go on YouTube and hear much of his music, was just precious about this hair situation. What are you ignoring? What are we pretending isn't showing up in our world? Now, we don't have to get down to the nitty-gritty and count all the wrinkles. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those things in our life that could be impacting us or impacting our relationships, and we're trying to tone them down. We're pretending they're not here. We're pretending that isn't my behavior, or we're doing something else. We're choosing to believe we're right and everyone else is wrong. I like that one. I like that one. The bad thing about that one is you go on a little bit of a mission with that one to create a case history or a study that here's all the things I know, and this is what's proving that everybody else is wrong. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Let that one go. That's not a good one. So when you look at your life, what do you see? You see what you want. You see where you've come from. You see where you think you're going. But are you looking at where you are now? What is that experience of you? And what do you really want to show the world? Because I'll tell you, when that part of me shows up that I don't want to be here, that monster, it's ugly, it's uncomfortable, and then I go into self-beat up because why did I let that happen? What's wrong with me? I'm a minister after all. I mean, you know, I should have it all together, right? I should be walking that perfect straight and narrow, or whatever we call it nowadays. So let's look at the shadows. Let's look inside. Let's consider that. Let's listen for a moment to some of the feedback we've received, because maybe there's a story there for us that's telling us, maybe you could tweak this just a little bit. I think too often when those things show up, and any one of us is, I call it in that moment of irregularity. I'm irregular. I'm not functioning like I normally do. Something has gotten out of whack, and because of that, I have a tendency to be concerned because someone is doing something to me, or someone is doing something that's affecting me. How dare you? And I'm feeling uncomfortable with that, and it makes for a very difficult process, because now I'm living in blame. And you know what goes really good with blame? Guilt. How wonderful. Is that the direction you want to go? Because it's not the direction that I want to go. Deepak Chopra tells us this. Most of us have become bundles of conditioned reflexes that are constantly being triggered by people and circumstances into predictable outcomes of behavior. Most of us have become bundles of conditioned reflexes. Wow. So if you want to test this, here's how. So easy. Skip a few meals. Don't get a good night's sleep. Totally exhaust yourself. And then step into a moment of stress and see what happens. And the world implodes. It does. It really does. Now, you don't have to test it. You can take my story that I'm about to tell you, and you can just use that for your growth process. Remember, a couple years ago, I told you I love change. I have talked about change with this community. I mean, you all have been bounced around the Denver area a couple of times. Now, it wasn't all me. There was a pandemic. You know, I don't want to take all the credit, but thanks. But I remember spouting off about change, and oh my gosh, you know, I just love it. I love it. Well, you know what? I don't think I love it so much anymore. So about a little over a week ago, my beautiful dog Lotus and I moved. We moved out of our home in Aurora, Colorado, and we moved to a house in Monument, Colorado. I had two goals. Two. One, I needed to be closer to my family. My oldest son and his family live in Monument. My youngest son lives in Colorado Springs, and all the rest of the grandkids are in Colorado Springs, Monument area. And magically, when I was making this decision, all three of the adult men, my oldest grandson and my two sons, started working in Monument. It was like, oh my gosh, you know, you have those moments, right, where it's like, oh, this isn't meant to be. This is great, this isn't meant to be. This is such a great idea. The second reason that I wanted to move to Monument, Colorado, I forgot what it was. I wanted to be closer to my family. Oh, my house over here that I had in Aurora was a really nice house. It was way too big for me, and it was, you know, but for 4 years it served me well. It was incredible. I wanted a place where I could walk outside and see the mountains. You see, many of you know this, but many of you do not. I grew up in Colorado Springs. I lived there almost my entire life, and one of the things that was a constant for me was Pikes Peak and that beautiful mountain range. And all I could see in Aurora was trees and houses. Out every window of my house, one window I discovered I was looking at my neighbor in his house. So, you know, it just, the congestion, there was just something about it, and I just wanted to get out where I could breathe. So the house in Monument is 4 minutes from my oldest son, 15 minutes from pretty much the rest of the family, and I am at the base of Mount Hermon, and I'm right up against the mountain range. And it's gorgeous, and it's beautiful. And I've been walking Lotus every day out in the blue sky and the mountains and the green, and it's just been incredible. But that wasn't all that showed up when I moved. A whole bunch of other stuff showed up, and some of the stuff that showed up was stuff that I thought might happen, but I was going to go with it anyway because I thought it would be okay, and then it blew up, and then it blew up again, and then it blew up again, and I became that wonderful individual in my humanness, showing up, grumbling, complaining, losing my mind. I mean, I kept trying to say, correcting myself so I wouldn't say I was losing my mind, because when you say you're losing your mind, then it goes. And I moved into the house, and I wasn't able to unpack because of certain circumstances that were taking place with the individual who was moving out. And what happened was I became a person I don't want to be, ever, ever. And yesterday, a dear friend gave me this beautiful reminder when I was grumbling just one more time. I was just going to grumble one more time. And she said to me, "You chose this." And I thought, oh my gosh. I think that was one of those I told you so's, but in a kind of a whole different thing. But it touched me enough to go, yeah, I did. And even though I saw that there were some quirky things that might happen, I kept saying, this is where God wants me to be. This is what's going to happen. I know it's going to be perfect. It's going to work out. My drive to this community this morning took me a little over 40 minutes. That's nothing for me to commute up here. I can come up here, I can visit, I can do classes, I will attend board meetings, I will be here for you, and I just want to say to the New Dawn community, thank you. Thank you for being my constant. Thank you for being my familiar place, because in Monument, Colorado right now, the only thing that's familiar for me is my dog Lotus. I'm walking around the house. I still got boxes everywhere. I've got piles of stuff that was in the box. Because, if you get rid of the box, you're making progress. So just dump it out on the floor and then get rid of the box. I mean, it has just been a little bit nuts. And I'm adjusting, and it's going to be perfect, and it's going to be great. But let me tell you this. I have physically seen, or talked to every single member of my family every single day since I moved. They've shown up at the house. They've come over. My youngest grandson, Gabriel, who's 8, I've seen him almost every single day. That's what I wanted. So what happens to us when we go after what we want and something quirky gets in the way? Well, I know what happens to me. Everything that was kind of opening up, moving me in the right direction, God's will, this is great, the Spirit's helping me, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And then the first shows up, and I'm like going, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Well, how are you going to do anything about that at this point, because I've already moved out of the house? It's like, oh my gosh. But isn't that what happens? Those are the circumstances I'm talking about. We start moving down the path, and some little thing shows up, or big thing, and we think, oh my gosh, I got to back it up. This isn't where I'm supposed to be. This isn't what was supposed to be happening. God, what is God telling me now? Instead of maintaining that place of knowing, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, this is where I'm meant to be. Yes, there's a whole lot of wonky stuff going on, and can I work through it? Sure. What I needed was food and sleep. I've also lost weight, another change, but you know what, that one's kind of positive. I don't know, we'll see. But in that whole process, it's so easy to get caught. It's so easy for us to get stuck. And it's so easy for us to react. And when we react in those moments of stress, in those challenging times, what do? We have an ability to destroy relationships. And I don't want to do that. And the relationship that I'm just beginning with an individual that is my landlady is very, very sensitive right now. And the last thing I needed to do is be getting all high and mighty about something that should have happened the way I thought it should. Yeah, it doesn't work. So I want to encourage you as we look at this idea about the outcomes that we want and the circumstances that we are dealing with, that first of all, I got to take care of me. And I wasn't finding a quiet place at the time, and I finally put the leash on Lotus, and we went for a walk. And we just walked until I was in my space, till I felt grounded, till I had done some prayer work, till I had gotten a new perspective. And I've been doing that every single day, because every single day some other little thing kind of quirks up, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, now I got to deal with that. It's smoothing out. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be perfect. I love where I am. I love the whole process. And are there some things I could have lived without? And what happened when they showed up? Well, I hope. No, I know. I've grown through them. I have grown through them. We are divine beings. We are having a human experience. And what I think harms us the most or causes us the greatest stumbling is when that human side shows up and we don't like the way it looks. I don't want to be human right now. I want to get back over here in the place of the divine. Well, I came here to planet Earth to learn how to be human. We all did. So that's kind of a given. So in that process, I just want to say, let's pay attention to that. And no, you don't have to go create the insanity in your world. And just for the record, and I know many of you have already thought this when I said I moved, I haven't found a single solitary person in the past month that has told me a really great positive comment about moving. We hate it. We don't like it. It's horrible. Nobody wants to move. Oh my gosh, it's the greatest stressor on the planet. Do you know that's one of the biggest stressors? I mean, those are the kind of comments I'm hearing. So of course, my head got filled with that, and then I get to Monument with the movers and challenges, and those messages come back, and of course, I'm going to react. We all are. I get to work on mine, and I've been working on self-forgiveness and a couple of other things because of just some things that have shown up. But each one of us has our own path, and each one of us gets to be reminded we're divine. And what I got to look at as I was working on this talk was, what is it about this individual that I'm challenged with that is in me? And I wanted to say, not a darn thing. We are opposite ends of the scale. But there are a few little things that kind of ring true, and it was like, oh my gosh, I do this. Oh my goodness, I might justify something just that way. How about I work on that? Because truthfully, I don't know where your mindset is, I'm not going to make a change in the other individual, other than influence. That's all I can do. How amazing it is to think about this. I tried to remember moving up here 4 years ago, and did I go through any of the same kind of stressors? Sure I did. Sure I did. Moved into a house, the cupboard doors didn't shut, the drawers didn't move right. I mean, yeah, that's why we don't like to move. There's always a surprise that you didn't see in the walkthrough. But it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean you made a mistake. It doesn't mean you're going in the wrong direction. Doesn't mean that at all. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to get away from a place that I wasn't comfortable and that I felt was kind of congested, and the challenges with a property management company and some of the other things, so that I could be more true to me, so I could be more grounded and centered in who I am, so that I can show up as the minister I'm meant to be. Because if I'm living someplace and I'm not comfortable and I'm not happy, then that's going to be harder for me to do, right? So that's what we want to look at is, what is it? What is that thing that's going on with you that maybe is getting in the way? That shows up over and over and over again? That we could just adjust it a little bit, that we could embrace it, that we could heal it. Pema Chodron says this: in order to get to a place of non-struggle, allow everything in our practice to support us in being present. See it as a teacher showing us something we need to know. Have compassion for our circumstances and ourselves. Being present in the moment brings gorgeous aliveness to your experience. Wow, that is so beautiful. What was I doing when I was freaking out? I was projecting, I was time warping, I've used that term before. I was going into tomorrow, the next day, what have I got to have done by here? And finally I settled myself down and I'm looking around the house and I'm thinking, okay, the bed is in the bedroom, the bathroom is pretty much set up, I kind of can find most of the stuff in the kitchen, and I know where the dog's food is. Okay, what else do I need to do right now? Didn't need to do another thing right now. And it was great having my grandson with me, because every day around 3, 4 o'clock, he would say, so you want to go watch a movie? And it gave me that opportunity to stop for the day and be done. Now I slept through one of the movies, but most of the time I was able to stay awake, because this was exhausting. Yes. I don't want to do it this week. And I told my kids I think they need to pack me up and move me next time. And yeah, and they were like, yeah, Mom, yay. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, brings us the quote that we're going to close with today. In judging, quote, not according to appearances, unquote, we are impressing spiritual law with a new idea of ourselves. A less limited idea, and we are learning to think independently of any existing circumstances. This is what is meant by entering the absolute. I want to enter the absolute. I want to be in that connection with Spirit. I want my relationship with the divine to be so prominent that when those issues that are human show up and I'm not dealing with it well, I can take a breath, I can step back, I can go into prayer, I can do all of the things that I know that work for me, and I don't have to look like a raging maniac. And only 1 or 2 of my children have seen that side of me the last couple of days, so there you go. So even me, yeah, I know. Some of you thought I was perfect. I just needed to tell you the truth today, that I'm not, and I'm a work in progress just like all of us are. And so as we look at this week, let's take time to look at the circumstances. Now, we don't use the word circumstance as much as we use the word condition. What is the condition? It's something outside of me. The circumstance is something outside of me. What can I do about it? Well, chances are good I might not be able to do much about it, but I can do something about the way I react. And that was something that Russell brought forth in one of his quotes today. I am at choice. We are at choice, every one of us, every single moment. I was looking forward to having a drive from Monument to this center every week because I thought, what a great idea. I can kind of work on my talk while I'm driving. I mean, just rehearse it a little bit. I can get into that mindset. However, this past Friday, I was freaking out. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? And now I'm going to drive all the way from Monument to Aurora, which, you know, make that drive all the time. It's not that big a deal. But that day, it was showing up. Let's move past that. Let's move past that and let's make nice with the monsters. Let's heal them if we need to. Release them if that's what's called for. So that when we engage with other people, we can do it on a true heart-to-heart level. And we can live in that space of love and peace and harmony. That's why we're here. That is why we're here. Please pray with me. As we allow ourselves to just digest some of this information, knowledge, these beautiful quotes, these beautiful words today, let us know that we are surrounded by and filled with the very presence of God. The truth, the love, and the light of all that God is. And in knowing this, we know we are never alone. We are always accompanied by the divine. And we are of the divine because we are divine beings having a human experience. And this week, let us choose the fun part of that and let go of the obstacles and the challenges and the problems. Let us find good ways to embrace who we are and how we are so we can let go of the grumbling and the judging. And let go of the rifts that are caused in relationship because we disagree. And as we think about that, let us move into that place of knowing that I can agree and disagree, but it doesn't have to be anger, and it doesn't have to be challenging, and it doesn't have to be that ucky energy doesn't get to show up. And so this week, we affirm for ourselves that we are love and we are loved and we are the beloved. And in doing so, we know that we can see the truth in every circumstance. And we can reflect it back to ourselves if that's what is necessary to handle it the best way that we can, using our spiritual practices, using our truth. I know each and every one of us here today and hearing this message online is blessed by God. I know that perfection of the divine lives within each of us, and we can choose it. And so this week as we go forward, we do that very thing, embracing all that we are and embracing all that we can be, and knowing that there is no challenge
no condition, and no circumstance that is too big for our God, because God is bigger than all of it. And so today, with the blessings of the divine, with the joy of just being able to be here and connect and speak with God and know that God is supporting us, we give great thanks for all of this. Great thanks for one another. Great thanks for our lives, our families, beautiful planet Earth. And the week coming up with a celebration of independence and freedom. It's all good, it's all perfect, and it is all God. So we let it go and we let it be, leaving it in divine mind where it is already manifesting. We let go and we let God, and so it is.
And so it is. Some of you know I used to teach a lot with kids. And I traveled the country, and one of the schools I worked in was called Martin Park Elementary, which was up in Boulder. And it was the first time I used to write songs with kids all the time. I would, make up the title and the ideas, and they would help plug in the words. But it was the first time the music teacher said to me, I want you to do it with all 600 kids. Oh, God. So guess what? I did. And this song was with me and 90 children from Martin Park Elementary when we performed it on CBS This Morning in 1996. I know it sounds like a long time ago, but guess what? It's the same, and it just expands out from Rev Jenn's talk just a smidge to include some of the things that I face in my life and work with, and so do you, and here we go. People are different. We have different names, but we all have a heart that's the same. Some of us are tall, and some of us are small, but we all have a great big smile that lights us all. If we could see through each other's eyes, hear through each other's ears, I know how you'd feel. Peace might be real. We'd share each other's tears. If we could see through each other's eyes and hear through each other's ears. Sometimes people are happy and sometimes they are sad. Sometimes people feel good, then they don't feel so glad. We all try to hide feelings deep inside day after day. Will problems never fade away? If we could see through each other's eyes, hear through each other's ears, I know what you'd wish, I know what you'd dream. We'd share fears if we could see through each other's eyes, hear through each other's ears. Come on, take a look around. We might be friends, and that's the way to make wars end. Sometimes people are happy, sometimes they are sad, and sometimes people cry, sometimes they feel just plain old shy. If we learn to care, if we learn to share, that's what heaven would be. The perfect perfect place for the world to see. If we could see through each other's eyes, hear through each other's ears, I know what you'd wish, I know what you dream. We share each other's fears. If we could see through each other's eyes, hear through each other's ears, hear through each other's ears, see where we are, we're all right here.
Hello. I'm Reverend Jenn Wilde, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community, and we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here, and thank you for joining our online community.